Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah.
Butt stuff.
Yo, what's up, sir? How you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Ooh, flying by the seams of my pants. But good. Otherwise, it's a beautiful, like mid-60s day over here in Portland. Unseasonably cold, but feels nice and refreshing. We're about to head into like a little heat wave over the weekend. So it's the freeze before the fire, something like that.
I like it. It's kind of a nice day here as well. We've gotten a lot of rain this summer, though, which is kind of pissing me off.
Yeah, summers over in our necks of the woods should be like pretty beautiful, right? Do you normally get rain at all during the summer, or?
Yeah, we usually get some and some hail and whatnot, but like this year, it's just been like every day for 2 weeks was rain, and now it's like every second day or in the evenings or something. I don't know. It's so dumb. There's not enough time to go outside because of the freaking rain. And then when I do go outside, there's just a bunch of giant ass mosquitoes that eat me alive.
I saw the biggest, like, no, we don't really have mosquitoes over here in Portland. But I saw, it was like the size of a fucking softball. I've never seen a mosquito that fucking ginormous, dude. I was legitimately like afraid for a second. And I was just like, to my wife and daughter, I was like, this is why we shut the door. Yes. And their eyes were just like, holy fuck, this is like a Jurassic Park mosquito. I'm so sorry. The door will stay closed.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Oh my God, man. Yeah, it was fucking terrible.
Yo.
Terrifying. Yo, what up, Rizzle?
What's up? How you guys doing?
How we doing?
Doing all right.
Recording.
Good.
Should I do anything special with recording, Drago, or just same as
We didn't listen to anything Dragonade said at all.
No, you guys did. No, just same as normal.
Cool.
Sorry, Dragonade. We love you.
Love you too.
Boom. Love you, Drago. Great way to start off the show. Drago Day Love Fest. Dude, how you doing?
Chilling, man. Trying to make sense out of what's going on in the scene. Summer's been kind of weird in terms of a cycle seeming like it's happening for the first time in a very long time, but it's a weird one, obviously. What are you doing, man? How you feeling out there?
A similar place, man. It definitely feels like we have all the trappings of like a new upswing, right? But it's one of those things where you never know until afterwards. So it's making sure that the ducks are pretty much set in a row. Heading into that is pretty much where I'm at, both like with what we're doing over in the Purple Place with Tippin and the other projects, positions, fucking fine digital art side of things is getting extremely interesting. You know, the DM offers are really starting to heat up for some works in my collection, and then broadly across the space. So the setup is quite interesting, but there's this doubt or uncertainty. And
yeah, I feel like everyone's holding their breath, man.
Yeah. Because that real catalyzing moment, right? That sort of brings in a lot of new blood. That's still yet to happen. So it's sort of confusing where, all right, we're seeing some great price action on the markets. Like I mentioned, we're having some interesting interest and activity on the digital asset side, like art collectibles. Seeing the new toolkit that's available for builders, app coins, focused on that, like potential new narratives starting to simmer and really heat up, but you haven't had that real catalyzing to bring in the new blood. And like all this stuff right now going where it is, it's like, okay, that's good, but it'll fizzle and fade out if the big catalyzing moment doesn't arrive, which no one knows when/if that will actually happen. So it's
Right.
just one step in front of the other in the interim. That's where I'm at.
No, I think that's a good point, man. About like we need that like catalyzing event, and we've sort of been here. You know, we've talked before about how like our branch of the ecosystem, specifically with NFTs, is sort of inherently tied to the ETH ecosystem, and and unfortunately, price volatility. You know, when there's more action in a positive direction, you just see more action in the ecosystem, and so with that in mind, we've been here a few times before where we're sort of scratching at a 4K ETH, can't really get beyond it. And then we've sort of been like punched backwards a few times for like an extended period of time. And I feel like that's sort of where we're at now. Everyone's like, oh my God, are we going to like, fucking finally get over this hump? And, on to better days moving forward is sort of what it feels like. And obviously it's not like this or that or like one thing or the other, but it does sort of feel like everyone's holding their breath. I agree with you that it doesn't feel like we've had this thing. And dude, like, take this for what it's worth, man. Like you are obviously making some waves over on Farcaster with Tippin, and what is going on there is with Farcaster and what y'all are doing over there is interesting, and a progression of sort of this like train of thought with the microtransactions and tipping creators and influencers and that kind of thing that started way back in Cent and everything. But I'm like, this shit shouldn't be the most exciting shit going on right now. and I say that with like the utmost respect, right? I'm like, I appreciate what you're doing. I like what you're doing. It's important that what you're doing, but I'm like, why? Like microtransactions on what probably will, eventually be like a back end protocol. I'm like, this is some like deep ass nerd shit that like, I feel like it's important and cool and again, not taking anything away from what you're building, but I'm like, people aren't going to come in from the outside and be like, fucking A, you know what I've been wanting this whole time? Microtransactions on my social media app. And I know that's not the sell, and I know that's not like, the long-term play is to just sort of like, red pill people on the concept, but I'm like, I feel like, again, man, going back to this, like, catalytic event that hasn't happened yet, I fucking hate to bring up the people thing, but people still bring it up, man. It just brought so much fucking attention onto the space. And again, going back to what we were saying about how NFTs themselves being just sort of stickier to the mainstream population in general, aside from people who are interested in the speculative side of things. So I'm like, just sort of looking at the landscape, and I'm like, the landscape seems uninspired. And again, man, I'm not trying to take away from anything that you're doing, and uninspired is probably not the right word, but lacking something that will inspire people to come in from the outside. And I think I'm continuing to circle back to the same thing that you're saying with this, like, we need a thing to happen, to really be like another like lightning rod kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly where we are at. So Tippin's great. I'm excited where that's going. But to your point, like if that's the only thing happening, that is literally like 1% of what everyone should be expecting to happen, right? So much more needs to happen, in my personal opinion. The canvas that I'm really excited to see others start to experiment with more is this AppCoin trajectory, right? Tippin is an example of a handful of projects that are app coins. It's super early, though. There's just not a lot of folks that have really connected the dots. There's either builders that are making apps that they have no appetite for the coin side of things and they don't want to take that risk. And there's folks that are making just like uninspired, like purely speculative based coins that are like by themselves not fucking interesting. The real interesting angle is really leaning into both of these sides and creating like a million times the interest that like a single tip-in mini app or app coin can generate. That's the direction we need to head. We're starting to see folks start to get it, but my opinion is like, okay, this probably won't be the catalyzing event or moment or area, but where we're building now, this will benefit immensely from increased interest coming from elsewhere, of which it could be a huge sale. It could be any of these other protocols or chains absolutely going nuclear in terms of interest for X, Y, or Z reason. Honestly, wrecked with what it's doing as a brand coin, which is, it feels like on a similar spectrum of app coins, but just product with a looser coin associated with it. That could also play into this. Or something that maybe we're not even expecting is that some combination of all of the above just start to get some sort of critical mass, which based on volumes, based on like relative values of how certain coins or app coins or assets are performing, could help to bring about. So, but I think the most important thing is like the experimentation is far from over. We need more of it. We need way more of it. And we need people to really kind of think through what the toolkit presents in terms of opportunities and really leaning into it and fucking doing the damn thing. Doing a little dancing in naked, trying out some new things to get the ball rolling and spinning up more interest and more eyes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Farcaster is interesting, man, because they've obviously had an influx of people who are outside of the sphere enough to have no idea what we're talking about, even in this conversation. Mm-hmm. And they're like using the app, but like, you know, literally probably wouldn't know how to interact with a lot of this stuff. You know, and these are not bad people to have like entering the ecosystem and everything. But I keep coming back to this like thing where like, you know, I feel like once you get that deep, you're really preaching to the community of people like who understand it. There's nothing wrong with that, like with, you know, the experimentations with the app coins. And I do feel like it's all an important part of everything. But, you know, I keep trying to think of like what event is going to like widen the umbrella here. And I don't think it's Farcaster. I think Farcaster I think the base app is like sort of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, to be honest with you, unless they just keep like airdrop farming the shit out of their like audience. But you know, I think Farcaster allows you to go like deep and narrow with what you're doing, not you specifically, but like with what you're doing, and be able to get it in front of an audience that can go deep and narrow with you into, and that's what we had with Scent, like being able to easily like tap into a community of people who like actually understand what the fuck you're building, because it's just really complicated and there's not that many people out there who care to understand this kind of shit. And so I feel like, man, Farcaster has been like really great for that across the board for the community at large. But I don't, it's hard for me to believe that they're the thing that's going to get us over the hump, or that they're really, they've really unleashed the thing that's going to get us over the hump, because the mini app concept is great, but unless it can extend beyond their ecosystem, you're inherently sort of a few layers deep, right? You got to get people who are into the Farcaster ecosystem, and then you got to get past this normie, you know, range of people who are in there, but like aren't taking the time or don't care to take the time to, you know, give a shit about what a mini app is, let alone a mini app coin, let alone the tokenomics behind it and how to do all the, you know, all the fucking things. And so I'm like, again, I hate to keep fucking bringing it up, man, but like, you know, you have a big ass crypto art sale and it's intuitive. You don't need to, you can have a visceral, you can love it or hate it immediately. You can have a visceral reaction to it without even really needing to understand what's going on. And I think that's fucking important. I feel like
People
Yeah.
need to be able to size something up and be like, that is so fucking stupid, or that is so fucking incredible. But being able to immediately like sort of look at something like a gigantic sale like that and have it be able to be like sort of chopped up into, I can have a very strong emotional reaction to it. And Farcaster, I'm like, you gotta do your homework, and then you have a very strong emotional reaction.
I'm in a similar place. I think the way that I'm starting to really think about Firecaster right now, it's like again, leading into this sort of frontier model of crypto. Everyone's at varying like degrees of farness away from like normie land. And Farcaster is sort of like a far-flung outpost, a port, if you will, right? Where folks have kind of traveled and they're doing their thing and they're building certain like interesting things. And if the tide rises, I think that's the port, that's the outpost that will rise probably the most relative to other places, just because of its direct connection to crypto, right? Like the tokenized aspect of these things, like the spillover effect from a sector wide dramatic appreciation spills over immediately. People start to see, oh, what? There's this thing over here, and that's tokenized, and it's an app and a coin. That understanding, it sets it up really nicely. Won't be like the main thing for the reasons that you listed above, but that's why I think it's fundamentally interesting as a place to be and build and position oneself. But to your point, God, man, the art side of things and the collectible side, like to extend the lens a little bit further, that I'm already getting like mid six figure offers for certain pieces. And like these are great historical examples, like just fucking dank art on the one hand. But there's something there where, damn, the JPEGs are selling for stupid amounts again. And one thing is going to catch a bid or get this offer by a motivated buyer that wants to make their mark, similar to like what Metakoven had, at least initially, designed with the purchase of that Beeple work for $69 million, which set off a huge wave, which then allowed like other like the animals with adjective PFP boom to happen in its wake, right? I do think you're probably right, thinking that it's probably going to be something that's understandable. And again, the mind share of people that had that era of ridiculousness imprinted on them, and people really do understand NFTs, whether they like it or not. They have this understanding that's like sets things up for yet another wave to happen, and then having them think, oh shit, maybe there is something there, right? I was having a conversation with someone just talking about the general landscape and then the parallels with like the .com era boom and bust, like circa late 90s came up, where there was that initial explosion of like everyone having a website and it's like the future of France and all that stuff, and prices just eye-watering, and then crash, and then like the headlines, the internet's over.
Right.
And then from our vantage point now, even from like the mid 2010s and late 2000s, like everyone realizes how stupid that sort of thinking was. Yeah. And if you're in crypto now, it's like people that think, oh, NFTs, crypto are dead. It's like, it's the same thing. It's like, it's very far from dead. Like we're at this point where we're about to rocket and ratchet things up even higher. So thinking from there, it's like, okay, it's just going to be V2 of the websites that people like to use, that they genuinely get something from, in addition to like the money factor of crypto, which like all signs seem to point towards that like art collectible area, an avenue of crypto being that easier to understand, easier to access point for folks not here day to day yet. So right there with you.
Yeah, dude, I feel like we've had like a couple waves of crypto art, and the entry points of like, what am I trying to say, man? Like, I feel like the first big wave, man, the whales that came into the crypto art scene were very much of the mindset that you were just sort of alluding to, where they were looking at this as like, a new form of art, and they were speculating on it and accumulating art. And, some of them are still out here. And then I feel like when Metacoven came around 2022, 2021, we sort of got like a different wave of whales that didn't stick around broadly and were using it more as a marketing tool and a way to make themselves relevant rather than from the angle of being like a straight up patron of the arts, right? Like we had, and I think that's the difference I'm trying to make is like early on, it feels like we had a bunch of people come in who were just like, I'm a fucking patron of the arts, and these are artists doing amazing things, and I am going to be a patron of this space. And then we had the people who had like their own agenda come in next, who are like, yeah, I'm going to be a patron of this space, but it's like essentially like a marketing tool to get my own brand off the ground and to make me relevant. And I'm not saying there's anything, I mean, artists benefit from both, so, and I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong, but I do feel like it was a different class of people coming in with the big pockets. And I think we do better with the former class that didn't necessarily have as much money to splash around, although everything's relative and maybe that's a misfire, but I do feel like that was a shift. And at this point in the scene, it feels like a lot of the big collectors are ones that have been here for a very long time and not a whole lot of new people that came into the scene the last few years.
Yeah. I think a lot of people they're familiar and they were on the periphery. I think of like Node, right? With what their acquisition of Punk IP. So it's not like they're brand new entrants, but the moves they've been making have been increasingly becoming larger. You think of like Adam Weissman is, I don't know why, but the purchase of 5,000 other side deeds or whatever the other day, like they've been around, they just are becoming bigger buyers. Dylan Fields, Figma CEO, still circling the early to punks, but continuing to be here. I think I see it more as on the patronage side. Yeah, it's great if we get more people coming in. We sort of are seeing that, but we're seeing existing participants or folks that had been more on the periphery, like dipping toes, getting into very deep waters very quickly. And I almost see that as one and the same with like new name collectors coming in. I almost see it as a more of a positive, because
I agree.
If you get like a new collector coming in trying to make a big splash and a big wave, then it's like, probably will feel awkward to people here. Like the vibes will most assuredly be off, versus what we've seen with like Node in that whole side of things, like coming in is, oh shit, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. Coming in for championing the IP, like reducing the weird Yuga inflicted risk around that historic collection. So I almost see it as happening better this way. Personally.
Yeah, no, I like that take, man. And you have your finger a bit more on the pulse than I do, and I appreciate those examples. And I think that's what we want, man. And how we've sort of seen proper organic growth from the beginning, right? You sort of get people's foot in the door, and I think that's again, going back to that inflection point or whatever. I don't know where the entry point is right now, and Farcaster is one, and maybe they're like all over the place, but in a weird way, man, I feel like when Twitter wasn't a dumpster fire, it was actually like a pretty good entry point for people, because it wasn't completely insular, yet you had your pocket of people that you could find that were sort of on the fringe and everything. And obviously, like, it sucks now. And so I don't know, man. It's again really interesting. I feel like we need that thing that like really just pops off, and the institutional side of things is just so fucking boring, man. And I feel like it's I don't know how long that continues to prop up the price of Bitcoin and all this shit across the board, where it feels like I don't know, man. Like, part of it feels like, okay, we're in the mainstream conversation more than we ever have, and I think, exposure inherently is tied to price. I feel like there's some studies you can quote me on and everything. It just gets out in the fucking public dialogue enough. Price responds accordingly and everything. But like, the shit is mad boring right now, and the stablecoin stuff is enough to drive conversations, keep crypto and everything in the headlines. But again, man, like it's I think the thing that NFTs do really well, man, is they elicit like really strong responses, man. And I like, I think to some of these artists who, man, Gary Cartlidge has always got some shit to say, and like it or not, you're gonna look at some of the NFTs that dude has put out there, and it's gonna give you like a strong emotional response. And he's not like the only one. There's a lot of people out there like that, and I'm like, that's what we really need, man. We need to like either piss some people off or make some artist 60 mil overnight, or something that actually hits someone in the feels, because I don't know, wrapping my stable coin up for like 4.25% APR more than I would be getting with like not a it's just like it's only exciting enough to stay in the headlines for so long.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed. Like that side of crypto, fundamentally uninteresting for a lot of folks. I think the institutional involvement just provides like a degree of trustworthiness for normies as they start to come back. If there's like a better onboarding moment for them, that could be part of one of the reasons why a lot of the negative associations around crypto may dissipate and be more manageable than they may otherwise have been. That's sort of like where I see that. But yeah, no one's fucking getting hard off of like digital asset treasuries and like getting just razzed or whatever. Like
Right.
that's its own little like corner of uninterestingness to me personally. But the real good stuff will be letting folks use crypto or do things powered by crypto that they otherwise wouldn't really be able to do. And we just need more shots on goal, sort of
Dude,
like where you keep coming back to.
I think you just said it, man. We need to fuck some shit up, man. Like I feel like
Yeah.
we need to do things that we weren't able to do, and crypto broadly has been somewhat co-opted and funneled into this position of almost helping people to like play it safe, and has been sort of gentrified in a way that is, and this is not even necessarily a bad thing. In a way that is more palatable for people and helping people to make it feel more safe to interact with and have it be a part of their lives. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But again, man, going back to this fucking people thing, I'm like, disrupted so much shit, right? It pissed people off, man. It was a whole new thing. It really rocked the boat of the trad art world. It was a new way of doing things that was suddenly so in your face that whether you liked it or not, you couldn't do anything about it. And it was extremely disruptive, man. And I there's so many things about all of that I hate, but I can't take away from the fact that it was an extremely disruptive event, that was a fucking public spectacle, that was a gigantic flex of this is a new way of doing things. And we need that, man. And that's really why I feel like crypto has been like is as relevant as it is now, is because it is a disruptive new way of doing things that basically the powers that be just couldn't get rid of, man. I mean, we know that, all the powers that be were against it until they were essentially forced to adopt it, except for the progressive ones who were like, this may be, an advantage to us. But for the most part, like, crypto is what it is because it has continued to fuck shit up. And I feel like that's what we've gotten away from the past few years, as it sort of has gone like a lot of the big players, man, have gone institutional. And again, I don't necessarily think that's bad, but I think it's gotten away from the stuff that is actually exciting about crypto, and it's making it seem like this is a new, better PayPal than it is a new way of interacting with money or a new form of value. So I don't know, man. It's fucking weird vibes.
Yeah, it's like perpetual weird vibes. I don't think the weird vibes will dissipate until like everything is properly erupting and just like green candles everywhere, blah blah blah. So it's a good like anxious energy that hopefully pushes more folks into like experimenting more and fucking shit up, doing weird things. Which that's how we'll truly grow, with more experimentation there. And it's like, God, with the combination of AI and the toolkit that makes putting together all the different crypto powered mechanisms like that much easier now versus even like a year or two ago, let alone 5 to 10. Hopefully that shit really starts to come together. But, TBD.
Yeah, dude, I feel like I'm gonna preface this with saying I'm gonna make a bunch of ignorant comments, but it's all in good fun. And for the sake of this example, dude, you remember when Axie Infinity just fucking blew up, and it felt like all of the Philippines was like playing Axie Infinity, and the amount of money that people were able to make, specifically in like certain parts of the world. I think Vietnam was like big into it and everything, and and suddenly there was this explosion of new users into this like gamified, and I'm like, I feel like this is just me speculating, but I'm like, I feel like it's going to be something like that, or we need something like that where suddenly 40,000 fucking 12-year-olds have just cashed in 10K a piece, and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? And all of us are like, duh, crypto, like, haven't you like been paying attention? But I'm like, the capacity for that to happen has already been shown essentially with what Axie did, and all of this has been like a rolling work in progress for everybody, where you can sort of take notes on what has worked and what hasn't worked and everything. But I'm like, that felt like it ramped up so quickly and was, sort of afloat for a while. I remember seeing videos of people with like, fucking 40 phones attached to like one giant thing that they're like just swiping and, matching things on and everything, farming fucking Axie coin or, love potions, whatever the fuck it was. But I'm like, I feel like we're close, man. Aavegotchi's been like scratching that direction for so long. And we've had some people out here for a really long time trying to balance that like gamified ecosystem, where if we could just get something off the ground, we collectively, like, as if I have anything to do with this actually happening, but I'm like, some event like that where you don't even the word traveled by itself. It didn't even need someone to come in and make $60 million. You just needed people to be making a few bucks a day and be like, yo, shit, have you seen this shit? Like, this actually works. And we haven't had even anything like that in a while, besides Farcaster, honestly. Like, that seems to be like the closest thing where it's like, hey, like, it's I don't know, there's not a specific game. The game is called Farcaster, and if you start with a couple bucks, you can maybe like fuck around and increase it somehow. But I don't know, man. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what it is, but it does feel like we're on the cusp of something like that happening, or like a big pullback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Regardless, it's going to be interesting. As we say every week, as we kind of like wrap up our mutual like therapeutic sessions with one another. I love these chats.
Dude, thank God. Dude, real talk, man. If remove tipping, noise, degen, whatever else is out there from the conversation. I mean, it seriously feels like, to me, that's the stuff getting the most attention right now, and not rightfully so. But I'm like, what else is out there? We talked about a few NFT sales, but like, what's making waves right now beyond that for you?
For me,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. Just working in it day to day in the trenches, but really, like Bracky is like another project. The in feed betting that because I'm not a gambler or anything like that, and I don't like it's not something that is naturally fundamentally interesting to me. But the way that this bot is starting to become like more proactive and like listening to folks what they're talking about in the feed, reaching out, I'm like, hey, so you mentioned like the Eagles. Would you want to take out a position over here? And like doing a little bit of shit talking and it's how it's communicating. Like that sniped me. Thinking
Mm.
through like a way to integrate tip and shit like that. I'm like, oh shit, I already have money. I have like a money button in the like button. If I like this suggestion from Bracky, there's an easy way to take out this like position, right? Painlessly, super simply, and also at a level that's like not going to risk my financial livelihood. So thinking through all these second and third order like, integrations with like what's effectively a streaming payment method and something like Tippin in particular, that's honestly where my mind's going. I every time I see like, even going into like rodeo, right? They have like new like buttons in there. I'm like, fuck. This needs to be a little bit more
Yeah.
like Instagram, less like Twitter. I want to see great art and I'm going to fucking like away and send money in the interim. One like by itself is not a tip and like is not anything super meaningful, but a million likes really adds up to like non-trivial money, right? And that's in a form factor that normies, they're not even concerned or even thinking about potentially ever even collecting the digital art, have to think about that drives more money. So that's where my mind's at. Probably more of a boring avenue, but I just see so much potential there to unlock people actually using and doing shit with this tech.
No, I agree, man, and it's not boring. It's, I asked you because I'm genuinely interested, and dude, I'm struggling with some of these algos, man. Like, and you've been there too, where like one thing you build something or you create something or you participate in a community, and that's dependent on something to do with the algorithm, and the overlords make one change, and then you got to like rethink fucking everything. And I've been in that situation many times with my own accounts and project accounts and. I know you have too, and I don't know, man. I'm like, it's. I actually just saw a shout out Tomato. I just saw them like asking some question about Warpcast's protocol now being open sourced, which I guess V had said that was going to be a thing once they transitioned to Farcaster, and it really feels like, and I don't have the answer for this, and I feel like we're getting closer than we've ever been. And I've actually seen some mini apps come out that will streamline your feed even more. But I'm like, the trustless state of social media and having to rely on centralized entities that will just like change these protocols and algorithms at a whim, depending on where they're at, and they're like biz dev basically for the most part, is a struggle, man. And I feel like my hope is that crypto allows us some way out of that, and it's possible that Farcast or Warpcast, this protocol is a part of the way out of that, just in what's already been established. But it's anytime I think of like something like what you're building, for example, I'm like, what you're doing is awesome. It's also dependent on so many other fucking entities cooperating in the way that you want them to. And right now it's good, but and on a micro level, we're all sort of subject to that. Anytime we set up a social media account anywhere, it's like, and I always think of like fucking poor show, man. Show's always just posted into the abyss, man, somehow. And I don't, I follow him on Twitter. I follow him on fucking Farcaster, and he's right. His posts just never show up. Shout out Una, whose posts also never show up on the shadow ban list or something. But I'm like, that sucks, and it's a shitty user experience across the board because we've had this conversation before. We're like, 75% of the people who I am trying to pay attention to their shit, it just doesn't show up in my feed and everything. So I'm like, Farcaster is in that direction. Scent was the previous best stab in that direction. Twitter is like somewhere in between, but I feel like we're still not there yet in terms of like, how do we really get the community into a place where we can communicate with each other, but also trust where we're communicating with each other, I guess.
Yeah, it's always tough to catch up with either algos or like the example of show. Like it's just like a cold start problem in a network. That's how I'm seeing it. But he keeps showing up. I keep seeing it. Whether or not the engagement is there, I think that's a different story. But like where like Livecaster, another example, where show has been showing up for a lot of, especially the NBA season, like getting in there, like boom, getting follows, getting interaction. That is really interesting. You can't do that over on Twitter or like anywhere else, right? Like these mini experiences within apps, and that's something I've seen this network, small as it is, as nascent as it is, actually continue to kind of improve slowly over time. Maybe imperceptible to most folks, but that's part of the reason why like Cam and we made the bet on like the Farcaster protocol in particular. I think we can start to differentiate, and we did at the beginning of the show, between like the base app, Farcaster, Zapper is incorporating the Farcaster protocol into their stuff, each with their own flavors. But like building on and thinking through the interactions on the protocol level, even as a regular user, it's like, okay, it may not be showing up in the purple app, but the blue app. Okay, my family's over there. They're seeing my. They're not that they're seeing my shit. More like, okay, the vibe over there resonates with what I'm putting out there more so than the other client. That's where, for folks that have a little bit of a higher patience threshold, I think will benefit over time. Just kind of leaning into it because of the longer term potential benefits. Right? It's still very TBD if those benefits actually really manifest, if the network is able to start scaling upwards in terms of daily actives again, like it had been. But the only thing that we have are like intuition, and then also looking at like what's happened over time with it. Like this is like a almost 4-year-old project, arguably 5 years old at this point, and it's had these growth inflections and leveling out at higher floors than before. So it's like, this is what we've seen in crypto. This is what we've seen in Web 2, for that matter, those sort of patterns. And crypto has this added ability to kind of just make things stickier because of the on-chain permanence of what people are creating and building upon and using day to day. That makes things a little bit more stronger heading into the future. So anyway, a little bit of a rant. But
no, it's good, dude. It's we needed this shit, and the space. Even though Farcaster has been around for a while, I feel like it's really only gained relevancy as the amount of users have gotten to the point where you can, there are people that you want to interact with there on a regular basis, and I've noticed a tremendous amount of growth and interaction in the amount of time that I've been there over the past, I don't know, a couple of years or something like that. I keep thinking about like Blue Sky and Jack from Twitter, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing, man? Like, it feels like the Farcaster is spun up by like a few nerds in the basement. I'm trivializing this, obviously, but like, dude had all the knowledge and horsepower in the world from like, one of the world's largest social media platforms, and it seems like dude just fucking put out a clone that predictably, like, I once Twitter like really went south, I tried a bunch of things just to sort of like see what was sticky and see where people were at and what was interesting. And I'm like, this place is like dead as fuck, man. There's just like not like and anything that's going on. Yeah, Blue Sky, and that's not the only one, but I use that specifically because I'm like, this one should have been like a reasonable competitor, and there's no reason why he couldn't have gone in some sort of like crypto native direction with that whole platform and everything. And I don't know, it seems like a gigantic missed opportunity. And I like stopped paying attention to my account over there. Apologies to anyone, the 25 people who follow me over there. But I don't know. It seems I look at some of the things that Farcaster is doing, and I'm like, God damn, with a little bit of just a tiny bit of like crypto integration into one of these larger Web 2 platforms, it could have been so seamless and easy and interesting on a large scale. And talk about like a catalyst type of event. That there is, or maybe there still is the potential for something like that on one of these platforms that has just like, a tremendous amount of horsepower and marketing and leverage and everything. But I don't know. Here we have Farcaster just sort of like quietly eating things. And I don't know, rightfully so, man. I talk a lot of shit on it, but we've been starving for this for a long time. So it's nice to see innovation in the social realm.
No, agreed, 100%. And yeah, I think I had only popped over to Blue Sky a number of years ago when it first popped up as like another place people were kicking tires on that had like an onboarding wave, and then stopped using it shortly after that because it's like, okay, Twitter's still here. Everyone's still using this. That's where it landed with me.
There's, like,
I've just only
nothing
heard
different.
about it for like the political defectors that left Twitter for political reasons, and then the unpleasant vibe that resulted from that over in Blue Sky, just by like screenshots and like an incredible amount of snark, which is just like good comedy.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to avoid the political shit on Twitter and on Blue Sky, which leaves me with nobody on Blue Sky. So this is like, all right, because I'll just take my fucking JPEGs and go somewhere else. Good shit.
Good place to land on.
Yeah, we got Z Creative coming on the whip. This podcast will probably be out when that's over. Dude, I should comment on that, man, because fucking Z Creative has been around for a long time and is a very talented person in the Web3 metaverse, 3D assets. Been in the mix and knows his shit. It's funny. It has not been on the whip, or if he has, it's been a very long time. So it's like, give him the deal. He's like sending me a bunch of stuff over. He's like, if you can get these things on into the whip parcel, it'd be cool to like be able to walk around them and talk about them, and then we can give some of them away. And I was like, dude, you don't know how we roll or have to pay attention. And so I like, I turned them all into like a jumping course, where you have to like grab some of them and, jump on some of the things' heads and everything. And it came out great, man. And I was like, fucking with him on social media that it was, supposed to be nice. And I sort of made a mockery of his assets. And he actually it seemed like he loved it and sent me like a whole bunch more. But man, I was like, just thinking as I was setting this shit up today, I'm like, we've really come a long way. And I've come back to this point periodically too. But I'm like, man, my skills have increased too, to the extent where, Z Creative can just send me like a handful of GLB files and I, whip up a quick jumping course for prizes, and we'll have a cool event. And this is something I want to pick your brain on too, man. And we can save it for another conversation. We're coming up on the hour and everything, but I'm like, this is, I feel like, where the Web3 metaverse really shines in ways that we're really just scratching the surface of, because, Z Creative's got these assets that he wants to show off, and they're fucking cool. He spent a lot of time making them, and it would be really fucking boring, in my opinion, to just like lead a group tour, like walking around them or whatever. And so, so instead we're doing something absolutely silly and ridiculous with these nice 3D assets. But I'm like, this shit is stickier, right? Like this is a way to experience art and a way to experience someone's 3D assets that in the real world, this would be a sculpture that you would walk around, just like, we had discussed. But, instead of that, you're jumping on it and you're grabbing one of them in order to, complete a thing. And you're forced to actually immerse yourself with these assets and have an actual like experience, like stepping on these assets and holding them. And, obviously you're not going to hurt them because it's digital, but I'm like, this is what I feel like is everyone's sort of sleeping on, man. And where we really do a good job of allowing people to experience art in a different way than they ever would without it, while maintaining the integrity of the art. And I think, we sort of did the thing for a while where it was interesting just getting in 3D galleries for the sake of getting in them. But it feels like we've hit like sort of a next iteration of that with the whip specifically. And I don't see a lot of people out there doing stuff like this, but it feels like this is where a lot of people are sleeping on, man, in the industry overall. And I feel like our little corner continues to grow fairly organically because it's got that sticky shit, man, that NFTs have, and you can drag an emotional response out of somebody much more easily than you can, talking about charts and dollars and cents and shit, unless you're making a lot of those, which, helps, but.
No, 100%. Good shit, bro. Super excited for the whip tomorrow. Fucking 6 years.
Should be a good one, man.
I just love every week we're like, God damn, we've been doing this for over half a decade. Yeah. Love it, man. Excited to see you and the crew tomorrow. Let's fucking get it.
Hell yeah, man. See you there. Later, dude.
Peace. Later, Jago. Later, Jago Nate's mom. Let me make sure I don't fuck this up on the saving part. Save and pray that this works.
Good shit.
Uh-oh. Jago, are we cooked? I'm not getting any reaction over here. Are we cooked? Dear Lord.
Drago's like Mike is doing something as if he's dragoing.
Oh no. I hope he's not having a meltdown. Jago, are we cooked? Uh-oh. Jago Nate's mom. Are we cooked?
Yeah. She just pieced out on us.
Uh-oh.
I have no idea how to do this. So maybe.
Yeah. I think we're gonna be good. And so we should be good. Let's just pray that we're good. Drago will ping us to let us know, I'm sure.
Everything's bad.
Oh, we're cooked, dude.
No, that's not a good one.
No, of course not. I'm recording on my computer. It's fine.
Thank God. Thank the Drago God. Thank you, dude.
I'm not
Bye, boys.
Good, thanks, man.
Catch you all tomorrow.
Good video.
See ya.